and concept. Okay, what is da'wah? What is da'wah? Well, first, it is not winning an argument. It is not answering questions, and it is not proving the person is wrong. Of course, the person which is the mad'u. We have certain abbreviations. It's in Arabic. You can find it written here. The da'i, which is the caller, the person who probably is a Muslim, who is inviting to Allah, and there is the other person who is hearing the non-Muslims, called mad'u in Arabic. So it is not proving that the other person, the Muslim, is wrong or answering just his question or winning an argument. Da'wah is to invite or to call, inviting people to worship Allah, enjoy what is right, and forbid what is wrong. You know, when the word's meaning is described, we understand what the da'wah should be like. You know, when now you know that da'wah is to invite. So how do you invite a person? How do you invite your friend to your house, for example? You know, you'll be kind, you will have good manners, you will be smiling, you know, when you invite him. So since it is an invitation, it needs to be kind and providing a warm welcome to the invited one. So non-Muslims are actually our guests. You know, non-Muslims are our guests that need to be welcomed kindly and in a very appropriate manner. This is da'wah. You know, the companions of the Prophet, they didn't have internet. There was no videos and there was no YouTube, and they spread the message of Islam in the whole world. And now we have this technology and we have these tools, but they are not powerful as them, because what makes their da'wah more powerful was their manners. So da'wah is to invite to Allah or to call to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, to worship Him and enjoy what is right and forbid what is wrong. So why da'wah? God has sent messengers to human beings to guide them to the right path, and this was a way God chose to communicate with His creation. Prophet Muhammad, peace and blessing upon him, is the last messenger of God, and commanded his nation of Muslims to convey the message of Islam to the entire world. He said, "Convey from me even one verse." And as we said, the companions left their countries, their families, and spread the word of Allah all over the world, and now we are asked to achieve the same mission. So it is obligatory on every Muslim to convey the message of Islam, even one verse. And how many verses that we know? We know a lot of verses. We know we have a lot of information, but it just needs to be organized and needs to be, you know, delivered in the right way. Why also da'wah? Because we need to be free from being blamed in front of God. You know, what do you think of not telling, you know, other non-Muslims, and especially for you around you? You know, we here in Egypt, we are like 90% of the country is Muslims, so they are not like around us every day, but for you, you know, they are around you every minute. So what do you think, that they don't know that there is heaven and there is hell and there is God with such attributes, that He is all merciful, all knowing? So it's really important that in front of God we have something to say, that God, I tried and conveyed the message, because He is the final prophet and there is no prophet coming afterwards. So it is us now conveying this message, whether we choose to do it or not. So really, it's a great honor that Allah chose you to convey His message. This is the job of the most blessed men, the prophets of God. So now every Muslim can practice what the prophets were doing. Previous nations were not obliged to make da'wah. They just worship Allah and that's it. But this nation is different. This nation worships God and makes da'wah, love God and make people love him, love the Prophet and make the people love the Prophet, love how God tells us, love enjoying good and make people love the same. So this nation is different from previous nations, and it is a blessing that we have this opportunity. Who should be performing da'wah? Some people would say, okay, da'wah is for the scholars, da'wah is not for me. So we need to understand who needs to perform da'wah. Do I need da'wah in my life, or this is something optional that I can do in my free time, and it's not that obligatory? Okay, Muslims are commanded to spread the message of Islam in the whole world. God said in the Quran, قل هذه سبيلي أدعو إلى الله على بصيرة أنا ومن اتبعني وسبحان الله وما أنا من المشركين. This is my way, I invite to Allah with insight, I and those who follow me. God said in the Quran, like the Prophet is saying this, okay, but God is saying it, I invite to Allah. Who said this? The Prophet. God says that the Prophet is saying this, I invite to Allah with insight, I and those who follow me. Who follows the Prophet? Who is following the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam? All of us are following the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and you cannot enter paradise until you are following his footsteps, because he is the one that God sent to us, and this is the acceptable method of entering paradise, is through his footsteps. So he said, I and those who follow me. So anyone who wants to follow him must follow his way, which is invite to Allah with insight. He didn't say I and the scholars. He didn't say I and the most knowledgeable people. Of course the verse says with insight, and also it says those who follow me. So anyone who wants to follow the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam needs to invite to Allah. ولتكن منكم أمة يدعون إلى الخير ويأمرون بالمعروف وينهون عن المنكر وأولئك هم المفلحون. Let there be arising for you a nation inviting to all that is good, enjoining what is right and forbidding what is wrong. So it's said clear that there must be a nation, a group that is calling to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And I think nowadays many people don't know what is Islam and what Muslims are actually doing. And even if all people know, this is our duty and this is our job, our real job is calling to Allah. كنتم خير أمة أخرجت للناس تأمرون بالمعروف وتنهون عن المنكر وتؤمنون بالله. You are the best nation produced as an example for mankind. Why? Because it's not of course written because, but in Arabic, but this is the answer why it is the best nation. Why it is the best nation? Because you enjoin what is right and forbid what is wrong and believe in Allah. So if we don't enjoy what is right and forbid what is wrong, we are not the best nation. And as you can see, God separated the humans into two sections. There is a section which is the best nation, and there is mankind. So either you are from the nation that is producing da'wah, either you are from the nation that feels responsible, or you are either from the other part who is receiving da'wah. So you are either giving da'wah or receiving da'wah. If you are not making da'wah, then you are receiving da'wah. If you are not part of the solution, you are part of the problem. So the most important thing is, how should I apply da'wah in my life? It is not enough just to listen. These sessions are fueling stations. So you have the fueling stations are these sessions, but if you don't drive this car and go with it, it's useless. It's like learning how to drive. If you get a manual on how to drive a car and you memorized it, okay, you memorize a manual on how to drive a car, but you never drove a car before, you must go and get inside the car and get the keys and turn it on and drive. That's how you learn. You read and then you practice. This is the same for da'wah. Learning without practicing, this is not da'wah, and practicing without learning also is not da'wah. So you need to keep them in parallel. You learn about da'wah and practice and mix. You will make some mistakes. Everybody does. Then you go back and learn and read. Making da'wah, you get some questions that you don't understand, and you go back and search for the answers. Okay, so, and remember this, without da'wah, none of us would have become Muslim. Not you and me. None of us would have come without da'wah, without the companions leaving Mecca and Medina and coming to Egypt for me, becoming Muslim, and going to other countries. If they stayed over there in Mecca and Medina and pray in Mecca and pray in Medina, so we will not become Muslims. So what we are going to do, that we are going to learn the basic requirements of giving da'wah and practice da'wah continuously. That is the right path to choose, because some people ask this question, that they understand the importance of giving da'wah, but they don't have enough knowledge. And Satan keeps telling them, okay, you don't have enough knowledge, so look for this is not for everyone, let others work in that area, and you can't work in da'wah. Every Muslim needs to work in da'wah. So shall I start giving da'wah and then gradually through mistakes? No. Shall I look for opportunities where to get a degree in an Islamic university and become competent in Sharia and in Islamic science? No. I need to learn the basics requirements of giving da'wah and practice da'wah using these basic requirements. This is the right path, inshallah, to choose. So what's in it if we practice da'wah? We have been promised great reward if someone is led up to the right path as a result of your efforts. So Prophet ﷺ said, if a single person is guided by Allah through you, it will be better for you than the whole world. And he said also, whoever guides another to a good deed will get a reward similar to the one he performs. So imagine with me, Allah guides one person to Islam, everything that he or she or they make, praying, fasting, charity, even if they calling others to Islam, you will share their reward. So you are not trying to practice da'wah or call just one individual. No, you are calling a whole family, because when you call one person to Allah and he becomes a Muslim, so he will marry a Muslim, then we will have children Muslims, so, and this family in addition to another family, so all of this will be in your deeds. Every deed they make, you will share with them. So it's worth to learn and practice and spend time and effort and money for this. What is the da'i's job? The da'i, as we said, he is a caller, okay, the Muslim, is to convey the message. Allah is the one who converts the mindset and heart. He guides whom He wills. So please focus with me on this. We convey and not convince. Again, we convey the message, we don't convince. Okay, because some people try to, they are actually trying to convince the other of Islam, and trying to push him hard to be a Muslim, and sometimes it have a negative feedback. So what we are doing, we are conveying the message, because there is no compulsion in religion. So he accepts or she accepts, that is her decision or his decision. So we only convey the message. And once you fully understand this point, the cause of despair you may experience, will decrease, because people will not all people will accept your message. A prophet comes on the day of judgment and none of his people followed him. Not only one followed him. So even when you are met with uncomfortable responses, you appreciate that you have done your part and you are content with leaving the guidance in the hand of Allah. So what we need to do is to know the truth, we follow the truth, we teach about the truth, and have patience. So 4 steps: you know the truth, you follow it, you teach about it and convey it, and remember, have patience. Okay, what are some of the da'wah essentials that we need to highlight together in this session? Okay, first, we need to be very confident and sure of our faith. Don't be shy. It is very, very normal to be you will not be perfect from the first few times. Don't expect perfection at the beginning. Everyone has his own shortcomings. Have reasonable expectations about your performance, and don't rush the results. Don't rush someone taking shahada. Don't rush having a perfect conversation. And it is completely normal, to feel after a certain conversation that you could have done better. This comes a lot. Even after years, you think, I could have told him blah blah blah. He asked me this question, I have just read it a few months ago, I remember the answer, what happened to me? This is completely normal when having a conversation with someone, especially if he is attacking. So it's asking you some questions and you are trying to get the answer in your head. So it's okay if you are not very perfect, but try to, of course, improve your performance. But it's really normal to have a little confusion at the beginning. It's like going to the gym. Going to the gym first day, doing workout, so you are a little bit shy, you don't know how to train, but after a few months you are going around like you are the trainer because you had some experience. Dawah is like that. Okay, second point is awareness of the current problems and contemporary issues in the surrounding community. You should live, the da'i should live the real life of people, and to be very near to them, bear their harms and participate in their happy and sad moments. You cannot convey the call when you are away from people. You know, you need to know what they are feeling today, what they are having in their plans for the next week, for the next month, having a marriage, someone died. You know, these are very important steps that you should keep your eyes on. Self-evaluation. You know, you need to always monitor your performance, as we said, and remember that it is gradual. Of course, we said it, you will not be perfect, but you will not be perfect like, for example, few months or 6 months, but after that it should be improving, and so you need to always evaluate your performance and try to search for the gaps, try to improve the weakness parts, and try to make the da'wah more effective. Be patient, and we could make all this paragraph in bold because this is very, very, very important, that you will probably or most certainly will come across people who don't accept your da'wah, or even attacking or throwing some several misconceptions and going away. So this is just normal. It happened to all the prophets. Continue your da'wah regardless of what happens, regardless of the reactions that you are facing. And it is very important not become discouraged because some people are careless about your activities. You know, and remember, guidance is from Allah. It is not related to how much time you give or how much effort. Of course, if you provided some effort and some time greater than another individual, another da'i, you will probably have more guidance into your heart, but you may not see someone taking shahada. Someone taking shahada or not is not our target. You know, you can set a target like, okay, we need 10 shahadas this month. This is not a target. You know, you are the target of the da'wah. The more you practice da'wah, the more guidance you have. You know, da'wah is for the caller himself. He is the first person that benefits from the da'wah. You know, when you are speaking to someone about God, so he hears from you one time, but like, for example, you are going through da'wah for 2 hours or 3 hours, so most probably you have spoken to 20 persons. So you have spoken about God for 3 hours, for 20 times, speaking about God, speaking about attributes, speaking about His existence, speaking about Islam. So you are the most person that have benefited from the da'wah. So have patience and don't rush any results, and even if there are no results, have patience, because the truth always wins, but it needs some time. It needs some time. Of course, sincerity is needed in this job because we are dealing with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, so it must be for the sake of Allah. Don't praise yourself. Your rewards come from Allah. The call is to Allah, not to your ego, not to yourself. This is very sensitive. You are not calling the people to yourself. You are calling the people to Allah. Yeah, and you are not calling to your organization. You are not calling to your team. You are not calling to your group. You are calling to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So it doesn't matter what He thinks of you as long as He accepts the truth. Fill your da'wah with good news. Speak about paradise, speak about the inner peace, speak about happiness, speak about how Islam has provided answers to many questions in our life. Where did we come from? Where are we going? Why are we here? The purpose of life. These are these questions remain in the mind of the non-Muslim, you know, after going to the parties, after drinking. When he goes back home, he is like, these questions come to the mind, because this is inside human beings, you know. They call them the great existential questions, you know. So fill your da'wah with good news, but it is very important that you do not eliminate speaking about hellfire. And we are going to discuss this part, and how to present Islam, how to speak about it, and when to speak about it, and who to speak to. But it is not eliminated. We can't, you know, eliminate, or like thinking, okay, I don't want to mention this stuff because he may get scared and stuff. No, he should be scared, because if he continues to be a non-Muslim and meets Allah on this case, he will have major and big problem in the hereafter. Genders. This is a very important part. Make da'wah to the same gender, and beware Satan's tricks. How he tells, you know, the brothers, he tell him, okay, make da'wah to this girl and she become Muslim, and you know, get married to her. You know, no, you make da'wah to, you're a guy, make a da'wah to a guy. You're a girl, make da'wah to a girl. But the opposite is not acceptable. So da'wah to the opposite gender is to lower your gaze. This is the da'wah you make, especially for guys. This is a very good da'wah to girls, that you lower your gaze. Don't make da'wah to other gender thinking that, you know, I think she will accept, because we are having like a friendship between us, and if, you know, the sister talk to her, she will refuse. No, this is, you know, all tricks played by the shaitan, played by Satan. So keep the distance away. Not all answers will work. You have a certain question and you have a certain answer for it, and you tried the answer with some non-Muslim, and when you have the same question from another non-Muslim and you say the same answer, you are surprised that he is not convinced, or that he seems to be, you know, not accepting your answer. So it depends on the person, because many people have different personalities. There is an emotional one, there is a statistical one, there is a leader. So each one, we will not say that each one have a different answer, but be prepared to face like your answer cannot go with all people, you know. Speaking with people, you know, speaking with the old, like it's not like speaking with the young. So not all answers will work. You must try to develop your answers and skills in order to match with, you know, every age and backgrounds. Differentiate between a truth seeker and attacker, which is a very important point. Don't waste your time with someone who is just attacking and doesn't want to search for the truth. A lot of people are searching for the truth and around us, and they are just, you know, on the edge of want to search for many answers to many questions that they have in their mind, and we as a Muslims have it. Believe me, we have it, but we are unfortunately keeping in our, you know, pockets and not sending it to them. So when someone who is an attacker, someone who is just throwing misconceptions and questions, so don't waste your time with that guy. And probably an attacker will ask many questions, you know, at the same time, and when you reply, okay, in order to understand this we need to explain Islam first, he will stop you, maybe he will laugh. So don't waste your time. And God said in the Quran, وَإِذَا خَطَبَهُمُ الْجَاهِلُونَ قَالُوا سَلَامًا. And with these people, ignorant people, try to, annoy you, you just say, okay, have peace and pass by, because we have many people who are truth seekers and want to know the truth. Islam is divine, there are no weak points, have certainty and show confidence. Okay, many times people face questions that they don't know their answer, especially when they are living in non-Muslim countries and they are the minorities. So keep this point, if you write it and keep it in your bedroom, and every time you wake up and you go to sleep, read it in a loud voice, that Islam is divine. If you face the question that you don't know the answer, the problem is not in Islam, the problem is in you. You don't have the knowledge of this question, so just search for it. Don't think that there are weak points and there are gaps and there are questions that are not answered. No, Islam is divine. This is the truth. God is the truth. Allah is the truth. Heaven and hell are there. There are good deeds, there are bad deeds, there are angels. Muhammad ﷺ is the last prophet of God. This must be deep down rooted in our hearts. And you should always listen to lessons and like Islamic preachers and stuff, in order to increase your faith and practice what you preach. Okay, some things that we should avoid totally during Dawah. Okay, what we should avoid: Dawah don'ts. Don't be apologetic and defend Islam. Don't be apologetic, and as you can see that the title is Dawah don'ts, so every item comes afterwards, just put don't before it. Okay, don't be apologetic and defend Islam, especially when there is a certain worldwide incident like a bombing and the media goes, okay, these are Muslim terrorists, Muslim radicals. It is not a necessity that a Muslim scholar comes on the TV and says this is not Islam. It's not like every time something happens that we need to make an excuse for it and explain. Okay, when someone from another religion makes the same action, there are no like a priest coming and say this is not Christianity or this is not that certain religion. So don't be apologetic and try to like that always Islam is being prosecuted. So don't be apologetic and defend Islam. Don't attack or criticize any religion or belief or anything such as music. We invite only. For example, someone saying that Jesus is God, and you reply that no, this is not logical. Okay, this is like attacking. Okay, you just say what you have, you convey your message, but do not comment on his sayings. So don't attack or criticize any religion. Don't negotiate, do not change any fact in Islam. Hijab is from Islam. We have 5 prayers per day. We fast 1 month in the year, the month of Ramadan. So don't negotiate, don't change any fact. Like for example, if someone is doing something haram, doing something unlawful, and asking you, is this unlawful in Islam? For example, sexual intercourse outside of marriage, you say no, this is forbidden. So it's not like, okay, I will say to him that it is allowed for him to come into Islam. No, this is not allowed. Okay, never exaggerate. Like for example, saying Islam is great, wonderful, and a very good thing. It's great and wonderful, but don't exaggerate. So giving him just a few, trying to please him in a way. Don't use a let's not push him approach technique. Don't make the non-Muslim comfortable with his belief. which means, okay, you are trying to convey the message and you are feeling that you don't want to push on him, to tell him that, okay, staying like this you are in a threat. You should try to tell him in a wise way that staying as a non-Muslim after you have heard about Islam, you will face big troubles in the hereafter. So try to push him, but in a wise way. Okay, debate. Don't ever debate. Debate is the wrong way to give da'wah. It is permissible only if it's stuck. What does it mean only if stuck? If someone asks you a question, especially if there are non-Muslims watching, especially a group of 3, and one of them keeps asking a question about something, and you try to go to presenting Islam, going back to the fundamentals, and he goes to insist on having an answer. So you should answer, and answer it strongly, because other non-Muslim are watching and hearing. So, but debates is not da'wah. Again, debate is not the way to give da'wah. Da'wah is to present Islam, da'wah is to convey, da'wah is to call to Allah, to be kind, to be good, as we said, to invite the non-Muslims are our guests. God commanded us to go to them and tell them about Islam. Okay, don't prejudge, give da'wah to the person, not to the judgment. You know, don't say like, this man is a hopeless case, this fellow is a waste of time and effort. Don't waste your time with this, okay, because he is, for example, doing something unlawful. No, we should be positive, issuing judgment. We can't issue judgment on anyone. God guides whom he wills, subhanahu wa ta'ala. He could guide him few days before he dies. So don't prejudge, give da'wah to the person and not to the judgment. Don't despair of the mercy of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Talk about things you don't know. Of course, don't talk about things you don't know. Just quote the right information. Don't say maybe. Don't say something that is out of Islam. Just what you know, say it, and what you don't know, just say I don't know. It is very natural that you be asked some questions. Just say I don't know. I have heard the answer for this question before. I will search for it and come back to you. This is normal, like, but you should not be like an answering machine, answering all the questions coming to you during the conversation. Okay, we are going to end this training or with this title, how to make da'wah. There are some rules that we need to focus on while doing da'wah. Rule number 1 is to focus on target. What is our target? Regardless of the topic, we need to focus on our target, which is the oneness of God, which is Islam, which is the hereafter, speaking about Islam. This is our target, speaking about the fundamentals of Islam. And remember that time is very precious. Maybe the person you are speaking today with, you will not meet tomorrow. So it is very important to mention and to cover all the important areas of Islam that we will mention later, what to say during the conversation. So it must be clear, a complete message. The target is to present Islam, speak about God, revelation, hereafter, purpose of life. We don't want to speak about angels. We don't want to speak about misconceptions. We don't want to go through unnecessary details and let the conversation take us to certain places. No, we need to focus on our targets. Okay, and also we don't want to overburden people by talking about many subjects at the same time. No, we need to just concentrate on one issue at a time. So focus on our target, which is, as we said, speak about God, revelation, the hereafter, purpose of life, worshipping God, the foundations of Islam, the fundamentals of the message, and not going through unnecessary details. Rule number 2, we must have a path. Follow a path. We must have a clear path to follow and a well-designed plan. Okay, what to start with, and we must try to control the conversation. We need to prepare well. Even if you want to write it down, but of course don't write it down and go to the non-Muslim and having like a piece of paper and standing in front of him and speaking. No, write it before you begin your da'wah. But we must have a systematic approach and a clear idea of what to cover during the conversation, what topics I need to cover. Having a default way of conversation, speak about Islam. You must have your default, and according to the conversation you make some tweaks and you make some adjustments, but there is a default script in our minds, what I am going to start and what I am going to end. You are not an answering machine. As we said, not all answers will work. You are not supposed to answer all questions. Don't lose control on the conversation, leading you into just answering questions asked by non-Muslim. We are going to speak later how to handle questions asked to you during presenting Islam, because it's normal during da'wah that you will be asked a lot of questions about Islam, and most of them are just misunderstood. So remember, you need to manage the conversation directed to the direction of your main objective. Do not allow the person to flood you with misconceptions. You need to make the person think and feel that he has the decision, that he is thinking with you, but you are managing the conversation in a way so when having these questions, don't just go directly to the answer. Okay, misconceptions, endless cycle. Don't go into this endless cycle of the non-Muslims throwing misconceptions at you and you are trying to answer. So making da'wah is not just answering questions and answering misconceptions. Okay, there's a different questions, like questions asked by atheists, like why there is evil. This is not misconception, this is a question. But misconceptions like why are all Muslims are terrorists, this is a misconception about Islam. So differentiate between the two. Okay, so in order to deal with misconception, we need to go back to the basics. Like, for example, what is the fundamental reason why we are not allowed to eat pork? Is it because pigs are scavengers, or pigs' meat contain like diseases, or because Allah has forbidden it? Because Allah has forbidden it, whether pigs are harmful or not, Allah has forbidden it. So this is the fundamental reason. Every misconception must be treated like this way. For example, why Muslim women wear hijab? Why Muslim women are covered? It is not, the answer is not like, okay, that's because they don't get molested, to protect them, to treat with the mind and not treat with the body. No, because Allah ordered them to do that. So this is the fundamental. In order to understand this is the order from Allah, we need to know first who is Allah, who is God. So misconceptions don't go through the endless cycle. No, when you are faced with a misconception, we must go back to the foundations of Islam, and we are going to handle this in the next session. When you are asking a question, how can you reply without answering the misconception? So this is quite similar to the rule number 1, is focus on the target, because if the person understood the main concept of Islam, only then he or she will be able to understand other Islamic practices. Because for most of misconceptions, as we said, we need to direct the conversation to the main concept of Islam. When you are asked about misconception, we need to direct the conversation back to the main concept of Islam. I will give an example, like saying, okay, this is a very good question, thanks for asking, but we need to, in order to totally understand the answer, or totally to understand what you are asking about, we need to first understand the foundations of Islam, or we need to first understand the main concept of Islam first. So let me explain the main concept of Islam first, then we answer this question. This is an example, okay? Or you can say, okay, what I give you a book to read, would you regularly start reading it from the middle or from the start, or start from the beginning? When you have a book, you start from the middle or start from the beginning? You start from the beginning of the book. The same as Islam. Someone asking about misconceptions is like reading a book from the middle, not from the start. So we need to direct the conversation back to presenting Islam. So when someone says, asking about hijab, it is not to explain the importance of modesty, or show how women in the West dressed in earlier times, or show what the Bible says about it. No, explain first the foundations of Islam, then after explaining the foundations, reply to the questions. Rule number 5, you are not a robot. What does this mean? It means during Dawah conversations, you need to look and sound natural, speak clearly, and watch your speed and the tone of your words. The audience or the non-Muslim would be enthusiastic as you are. If you are just, spinning something you memorized, you are just spinning it, he will feel bored. You need to have some passion during the conversation. If I say Allah is the most merciful, Allah is all knowing, all hearing, have some passion during the conversation, not just spinning what you have memorized. It's good to fill your pockets with lots of arguments, but it's good to prepare for yourself for some scenarios that happen. So you need to speak freely during conversation, not like having a default. You need to have a default, but not like sticking to it letter by letter. Rule number 6, listen carefully during the conversation. As you can see, one of the common mistakes that happen, that we don't listen to the person. Like the train. This train, can you, if you talk to this train or talk to the driver while he's passing by to stop, he will not hear you. So don't be like this train, just want to finish the conversation and want to present Islam, and you don't hear what he is saying, especially if it was a feedback. So let them ask, especially their feedback, and we, according to the question, of course, if it is a misconception, as we said, we direct it, but we must show them genuine feeling in you, that you care, that we care, and we have concern by listening to them. Once a I was having a conversation with he was Korean, he was Christian, and he told me this. He told me, Mamdouh, you are a great talker, but you are not a great listener. Because I was like always trying to reply, always trying to answer his questions, to try to convey the message, but I wasn't giving him suitable time to speak. And I learned from that situation that you need to listen more than speaking if he is speaking, the non-Muslim. Okay, rule number 7, which is manners, which is a very large percentage of da'wah, is our characters and our manners. So we need to have a sincere smile all the way, a very sincere smile with all people with different beliefs. Anyone saying anything, we can't reply with any bad words or any bad actions. Even if they treated us in a bad way, we treat them nicely and we treat them with respect. Good first impressions last. We respect all people, deal with them nicely, respect their status, because good da'wah is not about having a good conversation and winning the argument, but it is about our manners, character, and the way we behave. There was an incident that we had at Ahlan that someone was making an online conversation with a non-Muslim, and he or she left the conversation without saying, "Excuse me, I have to go right now." And this was the reply of the non-Muslim: "I think you are very rude. You talk to me, but since you have another opinion, you ignore me. I think my thoughts about Muslim is true." So this shows that manners are very, very, very important, and being polite is very important with all people. Mercy and kindness, of course, are one of the most important pillars in da'wah. Is to speak to the people as if you are speaking to your own mother. Speak to the people as if you are speaking to your own mother. You will speak with respect, speak with mercy and kindness. God says in the Quran that speak to him mildly, perhaps he may accept admonition or fear Allah. This verse was God saying it to Moses when he was going, he was going to whom? He was going to Pharaoh. Pharaoh in Egypt. So Moses was going to Pharaoh in Egypt, and Pharaoh, who is the only one in history that said, "I am God." And this is how the Quran said about it. And Imam al-Qurtubi, he commented on this verse, and he said, if Musa was commanded to speak mildly to Pharaoh, then it is even more appropriate for others to follow this command when speaking to others and when commanding the good and forbidding the evil. Rule number 9, talk to the brain and the heart. We need to use emotions, we need to use stories, not just giving some data and giving some information about Islam. No, we need to touch the heart, we need to speak about the hereafter, we need to speak about what we are going to gain after we finish, or our pleasures in this life and stuff like that, in order to touch the brain and the heart. Rule number 10, which is a very important rule, that da'wah is not da'wah without a gift, which means when you are making da'wah to someone, always try to give him a gift. It's not necessary to be an expensive one. No, we are just speaking, when trying to give someone a gift, it really enters their heart and have an effect. Give him some candies before starting the conversation, some chocolate. This is considered a gift. Some candies, some chocolate. Giving him, especially if he's someone who is in college with you, a friend who is non-Muslim, and you are trying to speak with him about Islam for a while. Try to have when you have some certain incident, like he got married, for example, try to get him a very big gift, because this is what makes the person really affected, not our speech about God and not our sayings about Islam, no, our acts, and within it how we give other people gifts, and of course this will take from your money, but it is for the sake of God, of course. Okay, rule number 11, which is pillars of Islam and Muslim duties, comes second. We don't make da'wah through explaining what is the 5 pillars of Islam, because these are duties. After having faith and after taking shahada, now this person, he acknowledges that there is one deity worthy of worship, which is Allah, and Muhammad is his servant and messenger, sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and then he practices Islam. So practicing Islam and Muslim duties, this is not the place to speak about them now. No, we need to speak who is God, who is Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. One day we will die. What is the attributes of God? Speak about why God did create us, the purpose of life, and when this comes into the heart, if he asks about the pillars of Islam, if the person asks, what shall I do if I become a Muslim, then we reply, but remember, speaking about the pillars of Islam, this is not da'wah. This is what we are practicing after we are having a belief in our hearts that this is what God asked us to do. Rule number 12 is practice what you preach, please. Because if we do more acts of worship as much as possible, we get closer to Allah. More worship, get more closer, and the more closer we are to Allah, the more our dua, our prayers will be accepted. The more our prayers will be accepted, the more effective the da'wah will be. So no worshipping, not getting closer, not accepting our prayers, da'wah is very, very weak. Da'wah gets stronger if we get closer to Allah. If we get far, it gets weak and there are no results. So when you find yourself your da'wah is weak, when you speak the words are not arranged, you are missing many answers, people are not accepting your speech, so we need to revise our relation with Allah, because this is the target. Da'wah is not for da'wah. Da'wah is to get closer to God. Why we make da'wah? To get closer to God. So, and it is very important not to trying to remind people of Allah and speaking about Allah and you forget about Him. No, we need to remind people about Allah, and we ourselves need to get closer to Him. So it is sometimes you need to retreat and be with yourself for a while. Yes, sometimes you need that. You need to retreat, but not for a long time, in order to come back easy, because if you retreat for a long time, then coming back to the da'wah, making the da'wah activities becomes hard. So you need to retreat and be with yourself for a while, but not for a long while. it's like someone traveling from a country to a country, or from a city to a city, and while he's on the road, he park it to rest. So don't park in order to, or don't make a U-turn. Just park the car and make some rest and then continue the road, but never ever make a U-turn for da'wah, because believe me, someone practicing da'wah then leaving da'wah, you get a punishment in this life, and the worst punishment is that you don't come back to it. So like someone working in the company as a sales agent, and one day he doesn't show up, what the company will do? They will fire him because he didn't show up for his job. So this is our job. So if we don't show up for this job, it's very, very risky. We are dealing with God. So practice what you preach. Last rule, which is speak to the fitra. What is fitra? Fitra is the belief deep down in our hearts that every human being, when he was born, inside there is a software saying that there is God. Prophet Muhammad ﷺ narrated that every child born is a Muslim, but his parents make him Christian or make him a Jew. So if the Prophet said it, that is the truth. Every child is born is a Muslim. And there is an example. They say, if there is an atheist, someone who is saying there is no God, and he's on a plane, and this plane is falling. When this plane is falling, what he will say? He will say, "Oh, help me, God." Even if he's an atheist, when death comes nearby, he becomes a believer. The same when someone faces certain disease versus sickness, he says, "Oh God, help me." So deep inside, everyone you are speaking to, even if he is an unbeliever, which appears on the outer surface, deep inside, he has a fitra, which is something deep in our hearts that we are born with, that there is a God. When you see that we don't need religion to tell us that killing another person is not right, okay? How did we get this standard inside us? We don't need religion to tell us that stealing is wrong. This is deep down inside. This software was, we can say, installed by God into our bodies as human beings, and we are born with it. We are born with 1 + 1 = 2. It never equals 3. We are born that 5 is much greater than 1. When a small baby like this in the picture, when you give him one piece, for example, of a fruit, then you give him another piece, he will get much happier, because it is installed inside of him that the more he gets, then it is that 2 is greater than 1, even he's a child. So when speaking to someone about God, deep down in our hearts, we must believe that deep down in his heart, one day he was a Muslim. So that's why even we some people don't say convert, he say revert, because all people are Muslims. So speak to the fitra inside of him and encourage him to come back to his nature when he was born as a Muslim. Inshallah, next time we will speak about what exactly to say when presenting Islam, as this session spoke about the essential da'wah essentials and concepts, some concepts of da'wah don'ts, some rules on how to make da'wah. but we will speak about, okay, what exactly to say. I want to speak about God, what to say about God, what to say about the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wasallam. And believe me, da'wah, the taste of Islam, you will feel Islam really be felt when Islam really felt when someone embraces Islam. It is quite a feeling to see someone in front of you embracing Islam. And when you are involved in da'wah, and thinking about it, and thinking how people should know about the beauty of Islam and beauty of worshipping Allah, this is really a very good taste of Islam. And when you are away from da'wah, this taste diminishes and vanishes away. So thank you for your time. Inshallah, there will be a quiz for what we have spoke about, inshallah, after a week. Subhanallah bihamdik, ashhadu la illa ant, astaghfiruka wa atubu ilayk. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.